Here's everything you might have missed in the new Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness trailer. This spring, something strange is coming to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, specifically something Doctor Strange. Thanks to a brand new trailer that debuted during the big game, we finally have some more clues about what to expect from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now, we're going to explore the Sam Raimifications for the Marvel Cinematic Universe and how it all relates to various rumors surrounding this highly anticipated film in just a moment. Now, if you prefer to read all about it, Rosie Knight has you covered over on Nerdist.com. However, if you're worried about having something potentially spoiled for you, make like Wong and go eat a nice pint of Hulka Hulka burnin' fudge until this is all over.
That's a thing?
Whatever point is.
Alright, let's get into it, shall we? The trailer begins with Doctor Strange, or Strange Prime as I'm going to be calling him, talking about a recurring nightmare he's been having. It involves seeing himself standing in a wasteland littered with human remains before a version of the Sanctum Sanctorum that's decaying and disappearing into the sky, all of the void in Loki. Now behind the Sanctum, there's a reddish ring of energy in the sky, which is a universe where the MCU is actually taking place in an Easter egg video thumbnail. Now, all kidding aside, the face on the doors resembles a number of potential Marvel characters, including vampires who were created by the Darkhold, the villain Nightmare, and yes, Mephisto. But I do think in this instance, it's just a bit of spooky architecture. It's actually very similar to the decor that we saw in Agatha Harkness's magical murder basement back in WandaVision. Water runs along the floor at the bottom of the staircase here, which matches another shot we saw in a previous trailer of Strange Prime heading up the stairs to meet Sinister Strange, the name they've given to the evil Doctor Strange we'll meet later in this trailer. And while it's not clear if that Sinister Strange is the same version we met in What If, he certainly has a similar arc where his lust for power has pushed him to violate the laws of the multiverse beyond the point of no return. Now, this Strange seems to be embracing chaos in a way that makes even me wonder if he's in league with some of the other evil entities that we see later in the trailer as well. As the sequence continues, we see an explosion at what appears to be Camertage as Sorcerers brace for impact. We then see Strange Prime looking on in horror as America Chavez is chained up in the middle of a structure that resembles St. Peter's Baldachin at the Vatican. For those who don't know, America Chavez, played by Xochitl Gomez, has the ability to traverse the multiverse via star-shaped portals that she can create, and that makes her very valuable to people out there who want to access other realities, like, oh, say an all-powerful magic user on the hunt for her missing children. Who could that be? Now, this appears to be at the nexus of all realities, and someone is using America as a generator to make these portals. She's even being held in a star-shaped pose, adding a grim parallel to the shape of her portals. We see that America is face-to-face with a screaming entity that comics fans may recognize as Lord Chaos. Created by Jim Starlin in 1977's Marvel 2-in-1 Annual Number 2, Chaos is one of the two agents of balance in the universe as we know it, Lord Chaos and Master Order. It's unclear what exactly Lord Chaos wants here, but presumably he's yelling words of encouragement as America's portals tip the scales of balance in the universe further towards Chaos's end of the spectrum. You're doing great! Now, it's also worth noting that back in 2015's New Avengers number 30, Chaos was actually killed along with all other manner of cosmic entities as the Beyonders sought to destroy the multiverse in the lead up to Secret Wars. But I digress. Moving on, we see the ponytailed Defender Strange from another reality flying through one of America's portals just as Strange Prime wakes up in his bed back at the Sanctum Sanctorum. Now, rather than being recurring nightmares, these actually seem to be glimpses into the multiverse as Strange is sensing the experiences and potential fates of his variants. Whether he realizes this before it's too late, though, is another story entirely. Next, we see Strange's reflection in the cracked face of the Jaeger-LeCoultre watch that Christine Palmer gave him back in the first Doctor Strange movie. It's inscribed with the note, "Time will tell you how much I love you," and we can see that it's still cracked from that fateful car crash that sent Stephen Strange on a path towards becoming a sorcerer as we know him today. After that, we see Doctor Strange in the upper level of the Sanctum Sanctorum. Now, the window of the worlds behind him is shattered as he conducts a chaos magic ritual using the Darkhold on the chamber's floor. If you recall, the Darkhold is the book of chaos magic in the Marvel Universe that's responsible for creating all manner of evil things like vampires and werewolves, and that generates ties to Blade and Moon Knight, just to name a few. We last saw this grimoire in WandaVision, where Wanda took it from Agatha Harkness and then was speed reading it in her mountain cabin when she heard her kids cry out from another dimension. Here, though, it seems that either Strange Prime or the man who will become Sinister Strange is using it for his own purposes. And the geometric shapes of chaos magic that he's conjured seem to be glimpses into other potential realities. They bear a striking resemblance to the illustrations we saw in the Darkhold in WandaVision. In the next shot, we see Strange examining one of these up close as Wanda Maximoff looks on in the foreground. But the next shot after that is a bit confusing though timeline-wise, because we see Strange Prime seemingly slam his hand down on the Darkhold and dissipate the chaos magic present in the room. However, if you look behind him, the window is still intact. So the implication here is that at some point, Strange uses the Darkhold without Wanda's supervision, and things get hairier than the hoary hosts of Hogarth. Dr. Strange tries to explain himself to Wong, and he says that he did what he had to do to protect their world, and maybe he's talking about what happened during Spider-Man No Way Home. But Wong in turn tells him that he can't control everything, and that desire to control everything and change fate is exactly what led Sinister Strange down a path of darkness and ruin, as we saw during his episode of What If. As Wong warns about the consequences of opening such a doorway between universes, we see a series of shots including New York City dissolving into the sky, which is similar to what we saw happen in What If. We also see Wong at Kamar-Taj watching as they're about to be attacked. And then we see Christine Palmer in a wedding dress outside looking at something horrific. Now in the Big Game TV spot, we see another shot of Christine inside the church for her wedding, presumably to someone other than Strange based on the man next to her in the trailer. And what follows is a sneak peek of Shumagoroth, Gargantos. Definitely Gargantos attacking the city as America Chavez runs away. As we see later in the trailer, Gargantos, named as such to avoid potential legal troubles with the Robert E. Howard estate, is attacking New York City, and presumably after America Chavez for her multiversal traversal powers. Known as Shumagoroth in the comics, this tentacled terror is a godlike ruler of countless multiversal dimensions and an ongoing antagonist to Doctor Strange. According to Marvel Fact Files number 46, this Lovecraftian nightmare is an extra-dimensional being of nearly unimaginable power. Shumagoroth rules over hundreds of dimensions, but seems to live in his own chaos dimension, keyword there being chaos. If the barriers between the worlds have been weakened by Strange's meddling and chaos magic, it makes sense how and why this being might break through, and why it would want America's ability to go anywhere at all in the multiverse. Later in the trailer, we see Doctor Strange create a magic buzzsaw to slice a bus in half that Gargantos uses as a projectile weapon. We see another sorcerer, presumably Wong, use an eldritch whip with a sword attached to attack Gargantos, and then in the Big Game TV spot, we see America Chavez running beneath its tentacles. So long story short, this is Bad News Bears and yet another entity of chaos who's after our heroes, and that's going to be a running theme in this trailer. Chaos comes for everyone. Next up, we see Wanda Maximoff in full Scarlet Witch attire meditating in a summoning circle on the floor. And if you look closely at the pattern on the tiles beneath her, they match what we see the Kamar-Taj Sorcerer standing on later in the trailer when it's under attack. So the question then becomes, could Wanda or a Wanda variant be the one who's actually attacking Kamar-Taj? Well, it certainly seems that way based on what happens later on in the trailer, and considering that we know they're all protecting America Chavez there as well. After that, we see Doctor Strange walking through a grove of white flowered trees with Wanda as he asks her about the multiverse. She mentions that Vision had his own theories, and in the first trailer, we also see her pruning the branches of these trees, and that is a visual reference to how the TVA pruned branch timelines back in Loki. But speaking of those trees though, pay close attention to them, because later on in the trailer when Doctor Strange is standing outside a version of the Sanctum with a statue of him in front of it, we see those exact same trees on either side. As for this garden, it makes an appearance under much spookier circumstances later in the trailer too. When Wanda tells Strange Prime that when he breaks the rules he gets called a hero, and when she does it she gets locked up, they're back in that same garden grove. But this time it's bathed in red chaos magic light and Wanda is in her full Scarlet Witch attire while Strange is still wearing the same scarf from earlier. So maybe these do take place at two different times, but more likely than not, Wanda is projecting an illusion a la Westview for her first conversation here with Doctor Strange. After that, we see a giant cloud of black smoke engulfing the gates of Kamar-Taj as the sorcerers look on in horror. While it bears a visual resemblance to Alioth, that gaseous guardian of He Who Remains from Loki, it's unclear if this is the same creature. Now we see Strange and Wong walking down the stairs, but then in the crowd, there's a vision in green, a minotaur among them, and this, folks, is Rintrah. Created by Peter Gillis and Chris Warner, Rintrah first appeared in 1986 as Doctor Strange number 80. A magical, extra-dimensional Minotaur-like being, Rintrah eventually became Doctor Strange's apprentice and even studied at Kamar-Taj as we see here. And if anything bad happens to him in this movie, well, I just guess I'll have to write a sternly worded letter to Kevin Feige. Dear Kevin, stop. Moving on, we see Doctor Strange, America, and what appears to be Christine Palmer walking through a bulkhead door into what seems to be the nexus of all realities. And based on how Christine is dressed here, she is from another reality herself, which we'll talk more about in just a little bit. First appearing in Fear number 11, the nexus of all realities is exactly what it sounds like. It's a gateway between all possible realities and timelines in the multiverse. And it makes sense why someone might try to imprison America Chavez here, because they could use her powers to access literally any reality imaginable. A long-haired Baron Mordo apologizes to Stephen and tells him that his desecration of reality cannot go unpunished. We see that desecration firsthand as Stephen walks outside in the wake of using the Darkhold's chaos magic to see a city in shambles. This doesn't appear to be the power-hungry Baron Mordo we remember from the post-credit scene of Doctor Strange, though. Rather, this one seems to be policing the multiverse instead of draining sorcerers of their power at a whim. He takes Strange into custody at a mysterious facility in a multiversal version of the British Museum in London. Escorted by Ultron bots through an atrium of statues of winged men, Strange is brought to a shadowy council chamber. And as many rumors suggested, this is the Illuminati, a secret cabal of powerful players who in the Marvel Cinematic Universe make important decisions about the fate of the multiverse as well. As we explained in a previous video, the Illuminati were created by Brian Michael Bendis and Steve McNiven back in 2005's New Avengers number 7. This top-secret organization of power players in the Marvel Universe originally consisted of Doctor Strange, Black Bolt, Professor X, Reed Richards, Namor the Submariner, and Tony Stark. Together, they made decisions about all manner of potential world-threatening events, including launching Hulk into space, collecting the Infinity Stones to will them out of existence, and trying to prevent the end of the multiverse in the lead-up to 2015 Secret Wars. Here, though, it seems like they're bringing Doctor Strange to stand trial for what he did to the fabric of the multiverse back in No Way Home, and maybe in this film as well. Literally every Marvel character ever has been rumored to be a part of the MCU's version of the Illuminati at one point or another. But today, thanks to this trailer, we can confirm several members beyond a shadow of a doubt based on what we see here. And they are Captain Carter, Baron Mordo, Captain Marvel, and of course, Sir Patrick Stewart as Professor X. That's right, folks, that mystery voice belongs to none other than Sir Patrick Stewart, who is in fact returning to the Marvel Universe as Professor X and the apparent leader of the Illuminati Council. What this means for the X-Men and mutants in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, though, remains to be seen. But with that said, it's not the only X-Men focused person or location we'll visit in this trailer. More on that in just a moment. As for the other members, given Mordo's involvement in taking Strange into custody and battling him in the audience chamber later in the trailer, it's most likely that he is a member as well. That broad-shouldered figure in shadows is most likely Peggy Carter as Captain Carter, who we first met back in What If, and this feels especially likely given the Union Jack Easter egg on the poster as well. The other figure we can make out in this chamber appears to be Killmonger based on the necklace he appears to be wearing. And if it's the version from What If, we know that he's able to reprogram Ultron bots to do his bidding, and that could help explain these sentries. And last but not least, based on the presence of the Captain Marvel crest on the poster and a Captain Marvel-esque figure fighting Wanda in the Illuminati base, we can presume that she is a part of this council as well. However, the real question is which version of Captain Marvel is this? The prevailing theories are that we're either going to see Monica Rambeau as Photon given the powers we saw her develop in WandaVision and her role in the comics, or it could be her mom, Maria Rambeau, from another reality where she became Captain Marvel instead of Carol Danvers. Either way, she's going to put up a major fight against Wanda, as we see later in the trailer. In the big game TV spot, we see another red-haired woman in the lab where Doctor Strange and America Chavez are being held, and this is a variant of Christine Palmer, who might also be a member of the Illuminati herself. Now, we see an Ultron bot race past her in this scene, maybe responding to Wanda attacking the Illuminati base, as we see later in the trailer as well. Christine seemingly helps Doctor Strange and America escape both the Illuminati and maybe from Wanda, because we see the three of them head into the nexus of all realities. Now, speaking of that attack, we see another perspective of it later on. We see a blood-spattered Wanda standing in the Illuminati base, charging her chaos magic. And as we get that signature Sam Raimi zoom in, we push into Wanda's eyes and see a reflection of the cells where Strange and America were being held captive. This Wanda isn't freeing them out of the goodness of her own heart, she's clearly after America because she has missing kids to find. It's also worth noting that this Wanda's face is divided by a streak of dried blood, and that represents her fracturing reality and her mentality as well. We also see America holding on to the Eye of Agamotto in order to jump herself and Strange from one reality to the next through her portals. The world we see here is full of dinosaurs, and this is likely another nod to X-Men lore. This appears to be the Savage Land, a sort of prehistoric game reserve in Antarctica where dinosaurs still roam the Earth. Now, something tells me we won't spend that much time here, but it's cool to see it included nonetheless. As they leave the Savage Land behind, America brings them into what appears to be a two-dimensional comic book reality, or maybe just an ad for VLC Player. What follows is a visual homage to Olivier Coipel's iconic artwork for House of M, as we see Strange in America begin to dissolve into cube-like shapes just like Wanda did in Coipel's original piece. Now back at the Sanctum, we see Strange Prime talking with Sinister Strange in the version of the Sanctum from his nightmares. Instead of the window of the world, there's just a portal spiraling into a white light. And while this version of Strange is undeniably evil and twisted, it still feels like he's not going to be the ultimate antagonist of the film. Moving on, we come to a sequence involving the attack on Kamar-Taj, intercut with Wanda seemingly breaking bad. She explains why it's not fair that the same rules about meddling with reality don't apply to Doctor Strange as they do to her. The implication here seems to be that Wanda is after America to find Billy and Tommy, her missing kids, somewhere out there in the multiverse in a reality where they do actually exist. And this is hammered home by a shot of the Elizabeth Olsen twins. We see one Wanda in her home from WandaVision in Westview standing over a weeping Scarlet Witch on the floor. Based on the two scooters in the background, we can assume that Billy and Tommy are alive and well in this reality. Or maybe it's a really dark symbol, kinda like Tiny Tim's empty chair in A Christmas Carol, and they dead. Based on the outfits here, though, it seems like the Wanda in suburban clothing is the one who ultimately attacks the Illuminati base. Are these really two separate Wandas, or are they two halves of the same being? Is Wanda reconciling what happened to her in WandaVision with the potential of the multiverse now that she knows what it contains? Regardless, it seems like Wanda is going to be the most dangerous person in this entire movie, and that goes double if other entities like Gargantos or Lord Chaos try to manipulate her into further damaging the multiverse. And last but not least, we see Wong trying to stop Strange from conducting a ritual on a snowy mountaintop. It seems here like Sinister Strange, or maybe Strange Prime, is using chaos magic to summon demonic shadowy entities. The final shot we see evokes the Hindu demon king Ravana, or the goddess Kali, as we see a nightmarish version of Doctor Strange, complete with multiple arms made of shadow, and a cloak comprised of screaming faces amidst the darkness. If you watch the Big Game TV spot, you also see a terrifying shot of what we're calling Frankenstrange. We see the terrifying toll this path has exacted on him as we see Strange being torn apart as he gives himself over to chaos magic and shadow. And based on what appears to be the Elder God Cthon, the creator of the Darkhold, on the poster, it feels like there might be even more sinister forces at work behind the scenes here. Anyway, folks, there you have it. That is everything we spotted in the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness trailer and the Big Game TV spot. We'll have even more theories and deep dives for you in the days ahead, but in the meantime, tell us, what did you think of the new trailer? Did you spot anything that we missed?
The nightmare begins.
Let us know in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, stay tuned to Nerdist.com.